Welcome to your weekly program, بالأحضان, a show with an accent for those without one. Today is a huge in Arab Spring and Egyptian Spring. Egyptian Revolution started January 25th, 2011. 18 days toppled 30 years of dictatorship. Mubarak had to step down, but he gave the military SCAF the rights or the authority to run the country. And ever since, they ruined the country. 3 years and a half later, Mubarak was acquitted today and cleared of all charges. All these hundreds of people are killed, slaughtered in the streets, Tahrir Square. Now he is cleared of all the charges, not only him, but all his lieutenants, all the interim ministers and the Ministry of Finance, all those people who were indicted during the revolution, Salim, Adli, all out of jail and released. The only people who are in jail are the people that started the revolution. More than 40,000 people, political prisoner in jail detention without either any indictment. So the counter-revolution led by General Sisi is gone strong, and now the Sisi opened the tomb for the mummy. The mummy is back. Mubarak is back. It's showing in the theater near you. And a short message for Obama. I think he should learn another Arabic word so you can say it to the next Egyptian revolution. Silmiya, Silmiya is not going to work. So the next revolution is going to be bloody, and it's going to be different than the Arab Revolution. Out of this Arab Spring, we know we have millions of refugees in Turkey and Lebanon and in Jordan, for the Syrian Arab Spring, Syrian civil war, and the Iraqi dismantle and the dissolving of the Iraqi country really resulted in millions of refugees. And we have here an organization that handle and look at refugee and the abuse, the tortures of refugees, their conditions, and we can get really a deep look at what's going on in refugee in Jordan. We have here Curt. He's executive director of Center of Victims of Torture. Located here is an international organization, but in chapter here in Minnesota. Welcome to Bil'Ahdan, Curt. I know you have your hand full. It's really getting the disaster of a Holocaust magnitude in the Middle East when you have 2-3 million people refugee in Turkey. I don't know how many, probably 1.5 million in Jordan and 2 million in Lebanon. So tell us, you have really a presence in Jordan, a strong presence. Tell us, what is the situation of refugee in Jordan? Where are they coming from? And who's supporting you, and their conditions and the abuse and all of that?
Yes, thank you very much, Ahmed, for giving us the opportunity to speak about our work, and particularly our work in Jordan with survivors from Syria. The Center for Victims of Torture works with survivors of torture and also survivors of war-related trauma, so people who have experienced extreme forms of violence, who suffered unimaginable abuses either in detention or they've seen what's happened as the war has dragged on in Syria. As you also mentioned, so many refugees have fled from Syria into Jordan and Lebanon and Turkey. CVT, the Center for Victims of Torture, has 2 rehabilitation centers in Jordan, one in Amman, the capital, another in Zarqa in the north.
Interesting. When you say rehabilitation, is it how is it different than just a refugee camp?
Yeah, we were actually not in the refugee camps
Okay.
in Jordan. Our centers are in the urban areas, so we're working primarily with urban refugees,
I see.
Refugees who have fled that area of Syria, moved across the border, but aren't in the camps.
So the individuals?
So they're families. There's
Families.
individuals.
Yeah,
There's many of them are women and children.
Mm-hmm.
And the survivors that we work with are those who have experienced the worst of the worst,
I
really.
see.
They're
The
people
worst.
who have been
Yeah.
interrogated, have been tortured, are coming to us completely broken, physically, psychologically. So we have a rehabilitation center with specialists, psychosocial specialists, psychiatrists, psychologists, but also physiotherapy for those who've been, for example, strung up by their arms for long periods of time, beatings on the soles of the feet. I was in Jordan recently and met with a survivor who had been strung up by his hands, but the pressure was really on metal hooks that had dug into the side of his body.
And who's doing the torture? And I know from my reading that the militia in Syria and the militia in Iraq were doing most of those tortures.
Yeah, it's, in Syria, the Assad regime has a whole network of intelligence operatives in many different places. There's the Air Force intelligence, the military intelligence. There are special branches in different cities. And the victims can be almost anyone who's involved in the opposition or suspected to be involved in the opposition. It could be men, women, but also children. Increasingly, we're seeing at our centers in Jordan kids who have been taken into custody and who've been abused, or kids who've seen their fathers killed in front of them, or their mothers who've been taken away. And we had a case recently, and this is a symptomatic, a very common kind of case, where the girl herself, who was 8 or 9 years old, was taken into custody by Syrian intelligence. She was eventually released, but she came out unable to speak, unable to eat. So through
She's seen horrible things, must have.
Yeah, she saw and heard things that no child should see or hear, and
But can even articulate it.
And yes, she went in healthy, and she came out unable to speak and unable to eat. So we were able to work with her and help her find her voice again. There are also individuals like fathers who see their wives abused in front of them, and they're powerless to do anything about it. They can't intervene because the Shabiha, or the intelligence sources, services, won't allow that. And part of the purpose of torture is, in fact, to degrade and to humiliate in addition to punish. So these people feel completely ashamed and powerless because they're unable to do anything. So we work with individuals like that to help them find their strength again.
I was reading a little bit something on your website, and this young woman, Abdurrahman, she was tortured to the point that she said, tortured and raped and all that, but she says something interesting: I'm only a spirit and a soul. I'm practically dead. So actually she can articulate this horrible condition.
Yeah.
She's physically dead,
Yeah.
but she found kind of a relief, or her soul. She found her soul released from her body, and now she feels free to can express her humanity.
Yeah.
That's an amazing
experience
that you guys see and experience.
Ahmed, I am constantly amazed at the strength and the
Yes.
courage and the resilience of people who've been through these unimaginable experiences, which nobody should have to go through. And yet people are able to find the courage and the strength to move beyond their torture and become functional again. You know, it's amazing that after refugees have been through these kinds of horrors, you know, they're able to rebuild their lives with the right kind of support, the right kind of treatment. You know, there are weddings, there are births, there are college degrees, there's new
Artists
jobs.
and-
You know, people have hope again for the future.
You know, you work in so many different areas, international, in Europe, in Africa, and Ethiopia, and all that. How is it different in Jordan? And what are the kind of, how the culture, the issue those Syrian have that's different than people in Africa or in Europe or somewhere else?
Yeah. You know, I would say that there are many similarities to the populations that we work with in Africa. For example, in Ethiopia with Eritrean refugees, Eritrea being one of the most repressive regimes in the world today, and there are many women
Not a
and
lot
children.
of people know this here.
Yeah, not many people know
They
that.
don't have oil, do you?
They don't have.
Maybe that's some of the techniques you guys should do. To solve somebody's problem, take some oil there.
Yeah. Yeah.
American, pay attention to this.
Unfortunately, oil is often the source of many of these problems.
It's amazing how, because we hear the news, we have ISIS, and I think everybody with a different problem
Yeah.
will cover it with ISIS. You have Israel beheading a whole nation, and then ISIS, and American with drones killing everybody else there in the area, and then ISIS. But the people I'm working with, they really don't care here and there. They are just humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, that's
You don't
absolutely
get in
right.
politics. I know that.
No, we don't get involved. We're completely impartial in our approach, apolitical. We don't support or oppose particular regimes, but we work to heal the wounds of torture and survivors and their families and their communities. We've also started recently a documentation project in Jordan, which is one you asked a little bit about what's different about our work in Jordan than other places. And we're piloting a project in Jordan about gathering information, specific information about the kinds of abuses the survivors have endured. You know, we often don't need to get into so much detail about the particular experiences
Sure.
because ours is a healing program, and often if you ask people to relive, to relate again their experience, they relive the abuse, and it brings back, you know,
And this
horrible
documentation
memories.
for your own record, or you can use it as a legal.
Yes, part of
indictment.
it's a very good
Indictment.
question because part of the purpose is to gather information, is to document what happened for purposes later of accountability. These processes, we don't have an international court yet set up for Syria, but accountability is something that I think we're hopeful will happen in the future. So it's important now to document, to not lose the evidence.
Of course, it's history for history. Let's just break for a second.